Daryl was co-hosting today, and one got a great compliment from Ken. We did. We're building bridges here, mending friendships that you're going to hear at the beginning of this clip. And then Daryl got into the Browns' offense and what he thinks it lacks.
I love Nick. I love Jonathan. I mean that sincerely.
Thank you, buddy.
Words get away from us at times. Mean-spiritedness gets away from us time to make a point. What I disagree with the most, Daryl, is Nick thinks there's talent outside the quarterback room. I do not.
I think that they're so devoid of talent on that side of the ball, it boggles my mind. And I think Andrew Berry has a higher opinion of the players that he brought in on that side of the ball than the rest of the National Football League does.
To me, this is the pinnacle of overreaction and doom and gloom that I do think I've been pushing back at all offseason long. And I don't think you're here. So you're not the person doing it, but I just hear so many people act like this team is 10 years away. Guys, if they're 10 years away, they've completely butchered from where they are now. This is not 2016 or 2017, where they were 3 full drafts away or 1 elite draft away and a couple ridiculous off seasons of spending away. Like, Harold Fannin Jr. is a real NFL player. Guys, I know Jerry Jeudy was bad last year. I know the drops are real. 2 years ago, he was a 1,000-yard receiver. So I'm not expecting him to be that again. I'm also expecting him to be better than he was last year.
Daryl said they're so devoid of talent, it boggles his mind.
That, did people not hear the hyperbole? I know. I speak in hyperbole. All right? But, Ken agreeing with him even.
Well, Ken kind of set him up, and then Daryl just kind of kept going with it. I think both of them think that there's no talent on this offense.
But even to the offensive line, Elton Jenkins is a 2-time Pro Bowler.
I don't know what to make of the
Titus
offensive
Howard.
line. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, okay, but I think my point is I'm not saying that the offensive line is great or that I expect them to be great. You don't need them to be great. Last year, they were. If we want to talk about who was on the field last year, that was devoid of talent and production. So even if they had talent, they weren't producing outside of Harold Fannin Jr., about 6 games from Quinshon before the offensive line completely deuced the bed. And then, the offensive line was hurt, and they were screwing around with it, and KT Leviston was your starting right tackle or left tackle, depending on whatever week. Njoku was just not very useful last year. I understand the point about where they were, but they are building, the idea of devoid of talent, that is, there are real NFL players in that locker room.
They have talent, but I do agree with the idea that they're far and away, there's a while to go before it's them and some of the teams we think about being competitive in the NFL.
What do you mean, offensively?
On the offensive side of the ball, yeah.
They were so bad last year, it does not take much. If you have a consistent offensive line in a run game, you got a chance in the NFL to score some points. No, I'm just saying as
of right now. The reason why they can be 31st in some of these projections and some of these rankings isn't because of the defense. It's because of what they think this offense is.
Yeah, and people aren't paying a lot. In fairness, people outside of Cleveland are not paying a lot of attention to what the Browns are doing. And even then, they don't respect the Browns because they fired their whoopee, Kevin Stefanski.
Well, but they also haven't given them much reason to pay attention to the offense right now either. I like Judkins, I like Fannin. Outside of that, you're betting on a lot with Jerry Jeudy. I don't know if that's going to work.
What do you mean betting a lot? I'm betting for him to be better than 400 yards last year, and I'm not even saying 1,000 yards.
No, but is he going to be a number 1 this year?
No, that's not the point. I don't expect him to be number 1. Do I think Jerry Jeudy can convincingly play the number 2 receiver in an offense? Yes, he was a 1,000-yard receiver 2 years ago.
But then who's your 1? Because maybe it comes in the draft, but right now we don't have one then.
Well, yeah, but isn't that part of this that we're expecting them to add talent in the draft? And the idea of sitting here going,
maybe
they're just where that devoid of talent is.
Well, maybe that's where the convo kind of is playing a couple notes at the same time. Is as of right now, you can make an argument. I wouldn't say devoid of talent. They got more talent than that, but you can make an argument as of right now. If you look on the depth chart, their offense isn't particularly impressive. Now, are they going to add? That's kind of what we're waiting on. And yes, everybody adds through the draft. We're supposed to have 13 receivers taken in the first 2 rounds. So every team's going to add receivers. Are we adding someone at number 6 overall? Or are we adding someone at 39 overall?
I just think okay, let's actually go back to last year. Guys, talent wasn't the only problem. You had NFL pass-catching talent. David Njoku is as inconsistent as he was, and he was banged up too. David Njoku is a serious NFL player. Quinshon Judkins is a serious NFL running back. Jerry Jeudy is a serious NFL player. You even did have a couple names in the offensive line, even though they got jerked around or got hurt or whatever. But, like, scheme was a massive problem last year. And then you talk about, like, we even talked about it with Joe Flacco. They wouldn't let Joe Flacco throw beyond the first down sticks.
Right.
All right? And then clearly he imploded under the constraints that Kevin Stefanski put forth. I don't think that's why Dylan Gabriel stunk last year, but I don't think it helped. And even Shedeur, I think at points, like, he made a lot of plays. He also made a lot of negative plays. That makes sense, by the way. Him and Dylan were rookies. There's a grace period there. But, like, I think the scheme was trash last year. I think that's what got Kevin fired. Kevin went to go back to his old offense and realized he couldn't. He had lost his magic. So I think we're sleeping on the fact that Kevin was completely lost in the sauce schematically last year. I do think we're lost in the sauce that, like, you can't judge last year's offensive line versus this year because the number one thing that they didn't have last year was continuity and health, which is clearly something that they looked for this year. I listen, I'm not trying to paint them to be a great offense, but to say devoid of talent, I think Daryl and Ken are too smart. I think right now the stock is down, perception's down. I think they're reacting a little bit in the moment, and I think it's incredibly hyperbolic. I do, and I don't like to use these words.
I think the devoid of talent line is a bit much. There's obviously some talent on this team. It's just if we want to debate how much talent, that might be a different story.
Well, but I think like you have a couple building blocks, and you need a couple more, and honestly, if you get those couple more, you're still probably lucky to be like league average, right? But devoid of talent really is like Josh McCown's your starting quarterback, Isaiah Crowell's your starting running back. Oh, gosh, I can't remember who the damn wide receivers were those years.
And every team has some piece on the offense somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to find an NFL team that has nobody and it is completely devoid of talent. Even the worst team, whatever team you think, probably the Dolphins, I'd say, for a lot of people. All right, Achan, pointed out right there. Like, there's talent on every NFL team. That's reality.
Yeah, there are, but I think, like, and the Browns have added to it. And I continue to hear in the analysis of the Browns not getting any credit for the offensive line. If you don't think these guys are going to be great, I think that's a fair conversation. Titus Howard, I think, is an average NFL player. Now, Tevin Jenkins, I think when he's healthy, is a good-ish NFL guard. I think Zion Johnson is a good-ish NFL guard. I think Elton Jenkins is a good-ish offensive lineman. I actually think DeJuan is better than people think he is, but I understand he can't stay healthy.
Right.
Like, that in and of itself, that's five. I actually think Luke Whippler was okay last year. I wouldn't say he's great, but it was okay.
That's the thing, though, is that the only changes they've really made is there. That's the only thing we can really point to and discuss.
And I think that's a huge if you had an offensive line last year, you would have been at least able to have something to build off of.
Offensive line being healthy and being good is always going to make your team better. But, like, if you look at the other pieces around, like, if you didn't think the offense was any good outside of the offensive line, separate that for a second, you're probably not going to think this one is very good. The additions is what, Tylan Wallace and Jack Stoll. That's what you have, and Jack Stoll gets added to a room where you have five deep as far as tight ends are concerned right now to begin with anyway, and outside of Harold Fannin Jr., I wouldn't bet on any of them. Like, if you didn't believe in last year's offense, it's not crazy to not believe in this year's offense right now either.
Else was watching. There was a softness there, something unspoken but deeply understood. David never asked her to stay. He didn't have to. He's always been the type to let her breathe, to let her fly if she wanted to. But maybe that's why she stayed. Because with him,